Welcome to Anti-Fiction. This is a weekly nonfiction podcast where each week I, Christian Yates, pick a topic, and then I invite two guest hosts to come and talk about that topic. This week, my guest hosts are Andy Mattingly.
Hi.
And Patrick Taylor.
Hello. I also want to apologize. I am slightly sick, so I will be having cough drops, and I may have to cough.
Hey, man, that is fine. Just cough, away from the mic.
Cough into the mic.
Directly into the mic.
Somebody else is going to use that
Not
mic
the
later.
microphone, into Michael.
Yeah, and just cough into mic, not the mic.
Open your mouth.
Our topic this week is, so just in time for the Christmas season, while everybody is out there being charitable and donating to whatever charity you donate to, we're doing an episode about charities, specifically the shitty ones. So that way, hopefully, it can help you make an informed decision on who to donate to this year.
The best part is mine is not exactly shitty, but it's amazing.
See, I picked one that, like, isn't necessarily a shitty charity, but has just had some shitty shit.
Oh, mine's great. Mine is great.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. So the charity I picked, and they were in the news this year. So if anybody is familiar, I was only familiar with the story that broke this year in February, but Oxfam has had a kind of long history with being in the news and not always for the right reasons.
Isn't Oxfam? I looked them up just because I wanted to make sure that I didn't do the same one. Aren't they a group of charities like UNICEF? So
yes, it's like 20 different charitable organizations that are all under the Oxfam family.
The Oxfam, as you were.
The Ox family, yeah. Not a family of oxes, though. So originally the name it was the Oxford Committee for Famine Relief. It was founded in 1942. So the idea behind it is that they try to help with obviously famine relief, but also one of their big things, one of Oxfam's big things, is fair trade.
Okay, so what you're saying is they're hungry to make the world less starving.
Sure. Yes.
Or less hungry.
I think one of the things was like make poverty history or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
I think that
was one of their big
one.
movements, or they were part of that movement or something. But at any rate, so the first time that I found anything where Oxfam was in the news, in 2005, they received criticism for behaving less like a charitable organization and more like a multinational corporation. So
because fair trade.
Right. So they were accused of using like aggressive business tactics and things along those lines.
There was an influx of UNICEF kids at my house one year.
It was probably in 2005.
Probably.
So they also were accused of being unduly influenced by the media and inflating statistics and misrepresenting information in order to make people feel more charitable, specifically toward Oxfam.
It's like those commercials with the animals. It doesn't really do it until
the
Sarah McLachlan is
yeah.
talking.
Yeah. Yeah, you put anything up against Arms of an Angel, and
instantly you're like,
I
so
have
much
to
sadder.
throw money at that. Make it stop, please. So Linda Pullman, the author of Crisis Caravan, said, quote, "A lot of what Oxfam does is to sustain Oxfam. Aid organizations are businesses dressed up like Mother Teresa." So that's a hefty...
I'm just picturing Donald Trump in a Mother Teresa costume. That's all I'm doing.
Oxfam's response to these criticisms was to launch the Sphere Project, which aimed to improve the quality of disaster aid. So they were like, all right, so maybe we're not doing all that we can. Let's do better. So that's a recurring thing that you're going to see throughout, I think.
Every scandal they have.
Every scandal that they have, every accusation thrown at them is always like they improve upon themselves. So I can say that about Oxfam. They definitely are always trying to be better.
They're like what we're trying to be right now in 2018.
Better?
Yeah.
Yeah,
every person
that's actually my
should
2019 resolution.
To be better.
To be better.
Hey, that's always
I'm
a good
not
thing.
working on it at all this year. So.
Hey, as long as it's 2019 and then 2020 and then 2021 and then eventually you won't have to because you'll be dead, but neither here nor there.
Sure.
And then you'll be the best.
Exactly. Anyway, continue.
So Oxfam's current CEO, Mark Goldring, in 2016 and 2017, his salary, just throwing this out there, was over 127,000 pounds, which is about $150,000.
That weighs a lot.
It is, yeah.
Sorry, low-hanging fruit.
And he also claimed 12,000 pounds in expenses. Now, for reference, that's those same 2 years, 2016 and 2017, the Prime Minister of the UK, his salary, because Oxfam is obviously a UK-based charity, the Prime Minister of the UK's salary was 149,000 pounds.
Wow.
A difference of 20,000 pounds.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's just,
For the Prime fucking Minister.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in 2006, Oxfam accused Starbucks of attempting to block a trademark from Ethiopian coffee growers for 3 of their more popular beans. So, again, Oxfam's big thing is fair trade, and specifically one of their biggest thing is fair trade coffee. Now, fair trade, I don't want to get terribly political, but obviously fair trade is a good thing. It is, because coffee growers especially.
Have an opinion.
I looked into this so much. God, it's so much. Fair trade tries to pay the producers of a product a fair amount versus free trade, where it's just, hey, I'm going to give you this. And they're like, I'm going to hold out for a better offer. And then they might not make any money. They could make more money. They could make a lot of money. But fair trade is like, all right, here's what you worked. Here's what this is valued at. We are always going to pay a fair amount for the product. And at the time, coffee growers in Ethiopia and other places, a lot of what they're focused on is coffee growing in Ethiopia, but they were paid up to $3 a day. That was about the highest, right? So naturally, Oxfam is like, we want to pay you a fair amount, and then we will sell your coffee, and that's what they do. They have the growers, they get the coffee from the growers, they pay a fair amount, and then they sell the coffee all over the world. And actually, Oxfam Fair Trade coffee was the coffee of choice in a lot of UK cafes, a lot of places in Australia. That was the coffee of choice because it's fair trade, and they were like, dope, this is fucking awesome. So they accused Starbucks of trying to attempt to block a trademark from the Ethiopian coffee growers. But Starbucks and the National Coffee Association, which I did not fucking know was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the U.S.,
our version of making sure that coffee is always good.
Right. It's the trade industry of coffee in the United States. They denied the claims, and Starbucks actually said that the NCA had contacted them, not the other way around. And I'm like, why the fuck would the NCA contact one of their members? And nobody else said anything. I don't know. Anyway, so flash forward to 2007. So first of all, I should back up, actually. They started doing fair trade stuff in the late 50s. They actually started the World Fair Trade Organization in 1964. This is all Oxfam. But in 2007, criticism from the Institute of Public Affairs in Australia, there was an article written by Wilson, something Wilson. I didn't write his name down. But he cited an analysis from the Cato Journal that producers were charged $3,200 to become certified fair trade. Right? I see the face you're making. Yeah. That it didn't make sense to me either. If your whole thing is, we're going to pay you a fair amount, but with this particular deal, their costs are higher than their revenue. $3,200 to become certified fair trade. That's
all it is. That's all it costs to become certified. And then at that point, it doesn't matter what you do, because I got a certification that says I'm fair trade.
Yeah.
So
yeah, basically. So Oxfam also has general shops and things like that they sell goods, and then the proceeds from those go to, famine relief. Ideally, anyway. So in 1987, they opened up their first dedicated bookshop. As of 2010, Oxfam was the third biggest bookseller in the UK. In 2010, criticism arose that it was using aggressive business strategies to run competitors out of town. So Susan Hill wrote an article for The Spectator. I want to point out that if you go read this article, it's very editorialized, extremely editorialized, and I do not agree with a lot of the sentiments that Susan Hill presents that have nothing to do with Oxfam, by the way. She just throws them in there. So she said that they were bullying charity shops by opening locations on the same street as other shops supporting local hospices, right? So this particular area was like really big with indie booksellers and like little mom and pop shops, and also charity shops that were run by the hospices, and all of the proceeds would then go to the local hospice. People could support their own, and then Oxfam would see that they were doing pretty well, open one right down the street, maybe even in a more prime location, and fucking try to just run them out of business and be the only charity shop.
Did you ever realize that capitalism would overtake, like, giving money to people? Did you ever think that would happen?
Yes.
Unfortunately, I'm not surprised.
Right.
But also, fortunately, I'm very saddened.
In 2013, Oxfam accused Dole, famous for their bananas, of treating its workers in the Philippines unfairly. Ironically, while Dole was using the slogan ethical choice on its bananas. So they claimed that Dole was not the ethical choice and that Dole was treating its workers unfairly. And Dole, at the time, had been trying to trademark the phrase ethical choice. So we could do a whole episode just on corporations instead of just charities here. But so Dole is trying to trademark that so that way they could use it without it mattering if they were the ethical choice, because then it wouldn't be misrepresentation. That's just their trademarked slogan.
Yeah.
That's what Dole was doing.
Dole.
So Oxfam goes, bullshit, you're the ethical choice. And Dole removed its trademark. Like, they stopped applying for the trademark. They removed ethical choice from the bananas altogether. They were like, we believe it is the ethical choice in bananas.
A choice.
Choice bananas. They still believe it is the ethical choice in bananas, but they did not want the negative press of...
Oh, of course.
No, Oxfam being
Dole
like, you're not ethical
anymore.
bullshit. Yeah. So Dole said that Oxfam's accusation was a commercial move aimed at backing a rival, and that they were trying to destroy the Dole brand.
Wow.
So we're seeing again that history of Oxfam trying to discredit other corporate...
So they look better.
Corporations, not other corporations,
Yeah.
I guess, because technically they're not a corporation.
Yeah.
But we're seeing them try to discredit corporations by throwing out these accusations like, we have a report, and Dole was like, well, there's a lot of inaccuracies just glancing over it, but we're going to look. They did look into it just to make sure that, like, treatment of its workers was not horrible. But they didn't find anything substantial. But yeah, so that's kind of the end of Oxfam discrediting everybody to try and move in on that market. Bringing us to February of 2018, the coup de grace. the Times released so the Times newspaper was doing an investigation and released a statement saying that Oxfam had allowed 3 men to resign and fired 4 for sexual misconduct concerning sexual exploitation, downloading pornography, and bullying and intimidation. 7 people are implicated in this, right? And the entirety of Oxfam is as
Essentially,
well.
someone found somebody's porn stash, and they were like,
I wish I could
Don't you
tell you
tell
that's all
us.
that it was.
Oh, God.
I wish. Yeah. So those were just like, those were the bullet points, right? That was, they had put out Oxfam had conducted an investigation into these claims, gave that to the commission, the like charity commission. I didn't write down the name of it, right? So they had to report this to them. But those were like the vague terms that they used, was just like sexual misconduct and inappropriate behavior. So in the confidential report in 2011, 7 years it took us to find out about this. In 2011 is when the actual Oxfam investigation happened. Roland Van Houwermeiren, which is a fucking crazy name, and he's got a fucking crazy face, by the way. He admitted to soliciting sex workers at a villa in Haiti whose rent was paid for by Oxfam's charitable fund. Right? While they were on like a relief mission in Haiti, staying at a villa, because that was another thing, is that like basically if you were going to go somewhere, you weren't staying with the common people. You were staying in like luxury hotels and also villas. And apparently you got to,
hey, babe, come to my corporate villa.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Who do you work for? Oxfam. Oh.
Yeah. The report also stated, quote, "It cannot be ruled out that any of the prostitutes were underaged."
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah. Yeah. I told you it got worse.
I was going to make more jokes, and I decided against it as soon as you said that.
Yeah.
Pedophiles
That's why I
deserve
cut you off.
to burn.
Yeah. Van Houwermeiren was allowed a phased and dignified exit so as not to damage Oxfam's reputation. So they allowed him to resign and did not release any of this information publicly. The only time it was publicly released was in February of this year.
From the Times?
From the Times investigation.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Haitian authorities at the time were also not contacted. Because it was, quote, extremely unlikely that any action would be taken. Right? Which I feel like is interesting. They also left the specific details out of the 2011 report because, quote, using prostitutes in Haiti is not illegal.
That's just in, folks. Prostitution is legal in Haiti.
Yeah. So they didn't contact the Haitian authorities. They left all of that out of their investigative report in 2011, basically to just not have it in the public eye from any source. They reported it. Ooh, we did our job, but they left out specific details. Oxfam claimed that as soon as they learned of the misconduct, they announced the investigation publicly. Again, they fucking did not. They had also previously been aware that Roland Van Houwermeiren, who was implicated in the 2011 investigation, and other staff had used sex workers while in Chad in 2006 while on a relief mission.
The country's name is Chad.
Yeah, it's in Africa.
No, I was saying that the name
Chad
is
yeah.
a human name and that he was in Chad.
Chad probably did too. Fucking classic Chad.
Anyway.
Only one employee of Oxfam was let go after the incident in 2006. And then, again, in 2011, another incident. Yeah. All of this swept under the rug. And then the initial Times investigation in February of this year only looked into the 2011 report. The 2006 report came out months later. Yeah. So after all of this has happened. Oxfam, in like May of 2018, Oxfam updates its code of conduct to say, quote, I will also not exchange money, offers of employment, goods or services for sex or sexual favors. They had to update their code of conduct
so that people
to
wouldn't do that. Wow.
Because in 2011, the code only prohibited sex with beneficiaries and anyone under 18.
So literally,
from its inception up until 2011, that is what it said.
Can't have sex with minors, and you can't have sex with people that benefit from us. Cool.
Yep.
But go all these other countries, spread your seed, our beliefs, and bring us back some money.
Yes. So this year, all of that happened. All of that came out. Deputy Chief Executive Penny Lawrence resigned, taking responsibility for not adequately acting upon the allegations. CEO Mark Goldring will be resigning at the end of 2018. So, I guess the moral of the story is,
do better.
Do better.
And don't have sex with kids, people.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that was already like, I can't even say that's common sense because common sense isn't even that common.
You want it to go without saying.
I would
that's
love
for
for
sure.
it to go without saying.
But yeah, so that was that's Oxfam. That's the beautiful sordid tale.
I can't wait till you get a letter from them saying you did not accurately represent us
Right.
because you didn't
Please
talk about all
cease
the good
and
we've done
desist.
too.
Yeah. Oh, you know I will. I mean, I'm gonna get an email in a couple days, and they're gonna be like,
maybe they'll still be around because
right.
Maybe
Well,
another scandal.
I don't have to wait out Oxfam. I just have to wait out Mark Goldring. And by the time this episode comes out, he won't be the CEO.
That's fair. That is fair. So, the charitable organization that I picked was founded in 2004 to increase the awareness of the activities of the Lord's Resistance Army in Central Africa and its leader, Joseph Kony.
Oh,
this
boy.
organization is
All right.
known as Invisible Children Incorporated.
Awesome. Okay.
It's specifically the group seeks to put an end to the practices of the LRA, which includes abductions and abuse of children and forcing them to serve as child soldiers.
Child soldiers sounds so cute until you think about what it actually is.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Fucking
Like
terrifying.
You imagine just like kids playing dress up in little army outfits, but then you actually think about what that means, and you're like, Jesus, fuck.
Because of the fact that I've played Metal Gear Solid, that term does not mean that to me. Only because in Metal Gear Solid they talk about like a shit ton of stuff, and they talk about child soldiers in like Africa, and you're like, oh shit, these are like 10-year-olds with an AK-47 that shoot better than 60-year-old men who've been in 2 wars.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was founded in 2004 by Bobby Bailey, Lauren Poole, and Jason Russell. Its origins are in San Diego, the greatest place to live, California. It brought in 2011, $13,765,177. There is a website for it if you want to go to invisibleChildren.com. Essentially, the big thing, like, we can talk about the history of it and everything like that, but I'm just going to dive right in and talk about 2012.
Okay.
2012.
This is what we were all waiting for with this story anyway.
We all know that in 2012, Jason Russell basically, so it started out with Jason Russell is like a college student, and he wanted to film a documentary about stuff in Africa, and he actually had like a really traumatic experience. Where was it? Also he worked with Fall Out Boy for some reason.
Naturally.
Let me just read the later in 2007, American rock band Fall Out Boy filmed a music video for the song "I'm Like a Lawyer with the Way I'm Always Trying to Get You Off," parenthesis, me and you, and other parenthesis, in Uganda after hearing about the organization's cause. So, that's cool.
Right. Give it some
Fall Out Boy,
legitimacy. Yeah.
Fall Out Boy was like, hey, these people are trying to do stuff in Uganda. We should help them. The quote was, seemed a lot more dangerous. They were originally going to do like a documentary style for the music video, but they focused on the love story between 2 Ugandan children saying that the treatment seemed a lot more dangerous and compelling. I mean, have you ever seen a love story between Ugandan people, especially with a rock band, on TRL? I thought that was interesting. Invisible Children co-founder Bobby Bailey referred to the video as, quote, groundbreaking, end quote. So, although the LRA left Uganda in 2006...
Should we pause to watch this video?
No.
No. Honest to God, listen, I'm sure it was groundbreaking, but I have absolutely no interest in watching that.
So
no offense, Fallout Boy. If you want to sponsor the podcast, we're still looking.
We're still Fallouts. We don't want to have a fallout with you, boy. So although the LRA left Uganda in 2006 after failed peace negotiations with the government, in March 2012, Invisible Children continued to create new awareness programs. In May 2010, Barack Obama signed the Lord's Resistance Army Disarmament and Northern Uganda Recovery Act. It's basically trying to stop all of the child soldier stuff. It sent literally U.S. soldiers over there to try and help the Ugandan forces and try and help the people. Invisible Children was one of the advocacy groups that was responsible for influencing the passing of that bill. But in March 2012, Invisible Children began an internet video campaign called Kony 2012. The premise of which was to heighten awareness of the actions of Kony and the LRA in order to put further pressure on the U.S. government to intervene militarily in Central Africa. The campaign focused on making Kony famous, end quote, in order to awaken people to his crimes and the pressure into the government into military action. The production value of the film was praised, and it was suggested that the methodology used would be a trend in activism in the future. It went viral, reaching more than 40 million views in 3 days. It was retweeted by Rihanna, Oprah, Ryan Seacrest, and it was really good. However, because of this video, a lot of media criticism happened, and
naturally,
they basically the Council on Foreign Relations criticized groups like Invisible Children for manipulating facts for strategic purposes and exaggerating the scale of the LRA abductions and murders. They basically were saying that it very oversimplified a very complex thing, and that was something you could see in. Weirdly enough, I got this idea from watching a video of what happened to this meme, Kony 2012. And this guy went totally in depth on the whole organization and Kony 2012 and everything like that. And the media's response was very much how you'd expect. This organization is trying to do something, and there are a bunch of other outside influences on a oversimplified, complex situation. Africa is basically being, quote, raped, end quote. And I use that very, very not loosely, because countries have been basically raping Africa since World War I, World War II, colonialism and industrialism and stuff like that. So obviously the media is going to be well, this organization may be trying to do something, but they're kind of oversimplifying a lot of problems.
Right. It's a complex geopolitical quagmire.
Yeah. And some of the other things they say were rarely refer to Ugandan atrocities or those of the Sudan People Libertarian Army. Bunch of other people brought up that it's there were already U.S. troops already deployed over there, and that operation should have been secret. And now that the attention to the region may do harm. There's a quote here: "If you want to catch Kony, I can't think of a dumber thing to do," which was said by Africa expert
Raise
Peter
awareness?
Pham. Yeah.
I feel like raising awareness is
you would think
not usually a bad thing.
It was the whole thing was that they were trying to make Kony famous, and they did. I mean, if you really think about it, everyone, if you say Invisible Children, if you know what that is, they're like, oh, Kony 2012. And honestly, it was really cool. The other thing is they tried to do a cover the night where people were supposed to go out in the middle of the night and put up flyers and posters and everything. Yet no one showed.
I did that.
Did you? That's awesome.
My high school did
Holy
that together.
shit! Are you serious?
Yeah, my high school did that together.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a huge
I was
movement.
I was probably a sophomore in high school or something.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie to you. I think the idea of going out downtown at night and fucking slapping stickers on shit was way more.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the idea of
Yeah.
vandalizing for a
Yes.
purpose was
Yeah.
is definitely a thing.
Guerrilla
So
charity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, the whole Coney 2012. Also, side note, Jason Russell, because of all of this, suffered a ginormous mental health break. He was running everywhere. He in the video it talks about how he was going from he had a TED talk talking about how even if you fail, it's okay that you do because something good can come from it.
Sure.
And that really here we go.
Found 99 ways not to make a light bulb.
And it's more like he suffered quote brief reactive psychosis end quote. You can look at the video. It's on TMZ. If you really want to, but he is naked on a street corner, freaking out, talking to people.
Shit.
He had been awake for way too long, very little sleep, and no stops. He was going from California to the other side of the country to talking to this person, talking to that person, interviews, all of this because of Coney 2012, and then he snapped, and so I think that says a lot about charity organizational work, that it will drive you crazy.
Yeah.
If you care a lot about it, which he cares a lot about it, which I think is cool. It's not so much a bad charity. It was just one of those, it got very big and oversimplified something that couldn't, quote, be oversimplified, end quote. But,
I think, I was going to say, I think another part of that was because of all the attention it got. That was sort of...
It was the biggest thing then.
Yeah, I mean, and I know that obviously things have been going viral before that, but I think that was that was
the first
cultural viral thing. Yeah, that wasn't just a viral video or something like that. It was a big movement that went viral because of the internet. And so nobody knew what was going to... Now you would know. If somebody did that now, they would not have put their child in that documentary that he did. But specifically because he was this is going to, reach out to people who have kids who look like mine, blah, blah, blah. But instead what happened is people found his address and was like, I'm going to kill your son. And now I know where you live and what he looks like. And that sort of thing.
Right.
Just mostly because people are shitty. So now people would know, I would lock down my information before I try to do something this. But he didn't know, and he thought he was just reaching out to the world.
Well, and he assumed that the world was better than it is.
Yeah. I mean, he probably assumed that people were similar to him and were going to care very much, and the only reason they didn't care is because they didn't know. And so he was like, let me make you know. And then people were like, we could do something helpful, or we could ruin your life, which is much easier and far more entertaining.
Capitalism. Only one winner. That's what I was trying to get at. Capitalism only has one winner, and therefore,
Well, fuck.
Invisible Children. You can go donate to them. I think they're still around. Jason Russell, I know, is probably still doing stuff.
Right, maybe not so much in a CEO capacity any longer. Maybe not so much in the public light.
I think he had a TED talk, and it was somewhat recently.
Oh, okay.
So, and because it was talking about he talked about all of Cover the Night and or was it Uncover the Night? One of the night something to do with Ever putting up posters.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then just coming 2012 and the fallout of it and everything he learned from it, and then I mean he's still doing charity work today too. So
yeah.
Yep. No sex scandals.
Right. Well, yeah,
there was
that is
nudity.
good.
There was nudity.
That's Well, you know how TMZ loves their nudity.
Oh my
god. So anyway, Andy, what story have you prepared for us today?
All right. Once again, I don't have a story, and I'm being useless. So I'm
It's
going to
not
talk
useless.
about how to find a worthwhile charity to donate
You know what?
to.
That's actually probably a good idea.
Because this was a good charity, some scandalous charity, and now how to tell if your charity is a good charity,
Or
a scandalous charity, or
you know what the best thing to do just immediately if you're like, I'm going to donate to a charity? Go to your good friend google.com, type in the name of the charity, and then just type next to it scandal, discrimination.
Yeah. That's honest to God. That's how I find out about any charity.
Yeah.
I literally just type the name in Scandal.
Yeah. Because Steph will, and fucking read it too, because
Yeah.
I was looking, listen, this is just a little anecdote
And read
real
multiple
quick.
articles.
I was looking for a very specific article to cite today, but because Google fucking knows me and knows like what articles I want to see, it was very difficult for me to find the article that I was specifically looking for. But during my search for them, I thought I had found it because it was like almost word for word what I thought the headline of the article that I had seen was. But it was from the from a more conservative standpoint. So I was trying to find this very specific example about this Susan G. Komen Foundation.
Which is a whole other story for a whole other episode.
Charities Part 2, coming next Christmas.
But what had actually ended up being in the article was that they donate to Planned Parenthood. And so then it was like, and if you care about babies, donate to some other breast cancer or whatever. And I was just like, I was like not even mad because I was like, what? I mean, if you are anti-abortion at this point, you're probably stupid enough to fall for that, and so I don't care if it gets you away from the bad thing, even if it's for the wrong reason.
Donate to Susan G. Komen.
Yeah, that's what I'm
anyway,
saying. Is like even if it's for the wrong reason, still don't donate to them. I don't care if we have to trick you into it. I'll start sharing those fucking posts. I don't care.
Clickbait.
Right.
Why are you?
Susan G. Komen kills babies. You heard it here first.
Right. I'm over it at this point. If you're like, I don't know. If you're that hell-bent on being tricked by
so step
bad
one,
news
go to
stories.
Google, type in
the
charity.
So that's for a specific one. So probably though, I think when people want to donate to charity, they like probably are just like, I have this money that I want to give to somebody. How do I find the best way to do it? And so donating to charity is obviously like
donate it to me.
I'm going to get to that. So so the first thing you really got to do, because it's such a personal thing, is like identify what do you value, what's important to you, because you're gonna pretty quickly.
So before
get
Google,
annoyed.
I have to ask myself these questions.
Yeah.
It's too hard, man.
You gotta
Too
look
I have
inside.
to ask myself and then Google questions.
What do you think this is? 2018?
Right. So you gotta look inside of yourself and ask yourself, like, what's important to me? You know, what is worth this money that I'm like not gonna see again? Because you will pretty quickly, when you start getting in a tight spot, if you only mildly care about or don't care about the charity that you're donating to, that's gonna be like the first thing that you
could have an Oxfam
stop
problem.
doing.
Yeah.
But if it's something that you're like, this is more important than my immediate financial situation, you know what I mean?
I have food in my fridge.
Right.
I have a house over my head.
I'm fine. Yeah, right. Like, you know what I mean? If you're like, yeah, that's what I'm saying, is if you find, you're going to have to find something that's important enough that it's actually a priority, the same way that like your bills are a priority, that sort of thing. That is the kind of organization that you're looking for.
Now I want to talk about like two different charities. Now that I talked about a joke one, now I want to like act. There are two that
There
I
are
actually
good
like.
ones?
I actually give to.
Oh, do you want to say them right now?
No. I'm gonna go through after. So what I planned was actually I was gonna say a charity organization, and we were gonna check to see if it was credible using your steps.
We definitely can.
That actually would be a good idea.
Perfect. Because I had
Surprise ending to the podcast.
I had a really easy one to do, but we'll do one of yours instead because everybody knows the Salvation Army is a joke. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
everyone.
That
if you don't, hang on. Let's just say that for right now. If you don't realize that in 2018 that you should be friendly to everyone, including the LGBTQA community and just about everyone else in this world that isn't a Nazi or anything like that, don't fucking donate to the Salvation Army. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then
I got loud on purpose.
so after you have chosen like what's important to you, what you want to donate to, so then there are like some more preferences they're gonna have to look at. So is this something that like what's the scope of it that you're interested in? Do you want to help your immediate community? Do you want to help your state, your country? Is there like a global thing you're looking for?
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Honest to God, most
decide.
of like the best charities I feel like to give to
Are probably local.
are more local. That's honest to God. When
I
you
think
have
if
a
you're gonna give to a charity.
multinational charity, how much of your money is actually going toward the charity versus their own expenses?
Yep. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something you got to consider. I think a lot of people prefer small charities. I think that's just true. And then another thing you want to look into is the longevity of the charity. How long have they been established? What have they done in that amount of time? Because of, you know, a 50-year-old charity that hasn't helped a lot of people.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, that's something you would want to compare.
Oxfam.
Except for I can't say that. They probably have helped hundreds
I'm
of
sure
people.
that they've helped tens of people in their time. But I'm going to get so many letters of complaint. And those will be the first letters that we ever
UNICEF
get.
As a child.
So that is how you're going to find charities, right? So then the next step is evaluating the charities. So, so first of all, obviously, no, this isn't obvious, and I'm sorry, but you want to look for a nonprofit, right?
Sure.
So you want your charity to be nonprofit, because otherwise, it's a scam. They're tricking you.
Yeah.
Stop donating to them, please.
I don't know if they are legally obligated to say or not.
Yes,
have
they
to
are.
say.
Well, to say specifically 501c3.
You would be able to look that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
public information.
I was going to say, because I know, like, I imagine that there are regulations on that the same way that there are with, like, banks, for example, saying that they're FDIC insured. I imagine that it's a requirement for nonprofits to say
you have
whether
to say
or not.
that you're a nonprofit and that you follow.
So if you can't find that, probably it's a for-profit.
So evaluating it.
Yeah, so evaluating it. So you want to make sure it's a nonprofit. So with that, you want to check that tax exempt status about why it's exempt, because if it's a faith-based organization, that's a little different.
Right.
And so I don't want to downplay what churches and other religious
Right.
what different kinds of religions do for the community. I think that in the right hands, they can do I'm trying to be so nice right now.
No,
Right.
I think religion is a sham,
like
I can recognize
religion can totally help.
it can help your
yes.
community. It
Yes.
can, yeah.
The
if it wants
United
to.
Methodist, for example, is a faith-based organization that has done a lot of. I'm sure that they have their fair share of scandals. I haven't looked into that specifically, but I know for a fact that they've done a lot of good, both in the United States and abroad.
Yeah, so faith-based is tricky. For that one, I would just say I don't think it's unreasonable to do work through your church, where everything is completely transparent. That's a big thing when you're evaluating a charity. If it's difficult to get information, just stop.
Yeah.
So that, so that's just like the first step is just the that sort of nonprofit aspect of it. So then some other things you're going to want to know about a charity is like how easily you can access their mission statements, and then the programs that they create, and then how clear those are. So like if you're reading a mission statement and you don't super understand what their mission is, that's on purpose. They're trying to trick you, right?
Right, or if it's real vague.
Yeah, so I think a common thing people say is if you know something well enough that you could explain it to a 5-year-old, then you know it. And if you couldn't, then you probably don't know it as well as you think you do. So, like, if you just want to reverse that real quick, if you could explain this mission statement, if that could tell a 5-year-old what this charity does, then you get it. And I mean, there obviously is going to be like jargon and that sort of thing involved that you're probably going to have to look up if it's a very specialized kind of charity, which is fine and that makes sense.
Right.
But also, when you're reading something, do I not understand this because I don't know what that technical word means? Or do I not understand this because it's so convoluted because they don't want me to know what it's saying? You can't trust them. They should be, if it's legitimate, enticing you to, but not tricking you. Yeah. They shouldn't be tricking you, though.
Excuse me, sorry.
And then another thing you should be able to easily access is what their short-term and long-term goals are, and they should be measurable goals, and then they should be reasonable goals. You know, if you think if you think it's not a goal that is reasonable, you don't have to get involved. You don't have to do that.
Right.
It's your money.
Yeah, and then they have to have concrete criteria to describe their achievements, right? So you should be able to know, like last year, this is all the things they did. This is all the people they helped. If they're throwing out numbers, like check those numbers based on who they're serving. Because if they're helping several thousand people, but it's in Los Angeles, you're like,
right,
that doesn't make sense. But several thousand people in, Dayton,
right,
that is amazing. So, that's something that you're going to want to consider. And then
that is the most
we'll
I know that like sometimes there's just long pauses. But I have to say that the mascot for Anti-Fiction is a beautiful gray cat by the name of Draco. And sometimes he likes to try and be on this podcast. And
dick.
I have to say that was the fastest I've ever seen him get off of the table.
I think he thinks that we're hiding food from him. That's why he jumps up here.
Oh.
Because like the laptops and stuff, he thinks that we're like, we've got something hidden from him, and so he's got to investigate. And he's a fat ass, so it definitely thinks it's food.
Right. Let's give it like 2 beats of silence and continue.
Okay, and then so the last thing that you're going to want to consider if you've got multiple charities is basically the one that you're giving money to, like who stretches the dollar the furthest? What kind of work are they doing? Is it sustainable? Does it make like monetary sense? That sort of thing. And then just a couple like other things is excuse me. Like charities that are legitimate they're not gonna pressure you, right? They're not gonna try to trick you or shame you into giving to them because they're already doing something good. And people back them because of their work, so they don't have to trick you into.
You mean like aggressively advertising?
Yeah. They don't have to trick you into it. And then obviously always like trust your instincts, So the fact that you're looking means that you're going to find something.
Right.
So if your instincts are like, hey, I don't feel good about this one, then just toss it. Like find another one. You know what I mean? You're going to help somebody, and that's really what's important. So, and there is no shortages of charities.
Oh, yeah.
Which actually leads into my next point about another interesting thing I read recently about how millennials are the least charitable generation. And what that actually means is millennials don't donate to charities because things exist now like PayPal and Venmo and GoFundMe, which don't count as charities.
Well.
So this is something I want to talk about and what I personally do, which I think Christian can attest to, is that I know several people. I mean, everybody knows super fucking poor, right? But I do know several people that often fall on harder times than others and are not afraid to be like, hey, can somebody give me like $5 for gas? Or like, you know what I mean? Just openly being like, hey, this is embarrassing, but I don't have any food. Could someone help me out? And so Christian and I actually, I mean, that's a large part of the money that we donate besides like the one other charity that I regularly donate to.
Which is?
Planned Parenthood.
Oh, nice.
Obviously.
I'm just trying to get some shout outs here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So besides that, that, I think that what honestly a lot of times is because, I mean, just the fact is smaller charities are better.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can do direct action, that's the most important.
Yep.
And so specifically reaching out to people who, and if you don't know people like that. So, I mean, assuming if you are pretty, wealthy or like a higher economic status or something like that, then probably the people you're surrounded with are as well. And so it probably wouldn't hurt. There are like online, obviously there's GoFundMe and other crowdfunding things.
Brief note, GoFundMe is actually really bad.
Yeah, I think they take a lot of money out.
They take out a percentage. I mean, like, obviously it's a percentage to keep their site going and everything like that.
Right.
But there are better crowdfunding websites.
There used to be UCaring, but I think they just got bought out by GoFundMe.
Probably,
yeah.
Honestly. GoFundMe is kind of leading that capitalist
and I think
charitable
Patreon is exclusively for like artistic projects.
It's not. It isn't. It isn't. It's art is so loose sometimes
That's
that
fair.
you can do just about anything.
Right.
And I mean, Patreon is meant so that you can do whatever you wanting to do and get paid for it by people who subscribe to you and pay a monthly subscription or a one-time fee.
Right.
And I think that's kind of cool too.
Yeah.
So anyway, the other thing I was gonna say though is because I mean obviously those websites do take some, and I don't think it's a big deal to take some of it to cover cost of the website or whatever, because it doesn't cost anything for the to use the website, and I don't think they do ads, do they? Or minimal ads if they do.
I haven't used GoFundMe in a while.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever used.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm just saying like GoFundMe's not ideal, but if one of my friends has one, I'm gonna donate.
Yeah, yeah.
But another thing that you could do that I think has been really helpful, is there definitely are like groups that you can find on almost any social media website, just literally for people to be like, hey, I like need help with this thing.
Shout out to Give Me Your Money.
Yeah, that one's there's that one. Now? There's actually I'll go ahead and just link some after I get approval to start like shouting out names, because I think some of them might be secret or closed that I'm in, but I am like in several groups that just really have people who will like who probably regularly fall on hard times. Like this isn't, if somebody's asking you for $5 for groceries for the week, they regularly fall on hard times, you know what I mean? But I mean, it's just a fucking way for them to be able to get $5 a week. Like somebody who's better off can help them. But there are a lot of groups like that, and I think that's I think that's a good direct action. Yeah, they're getting all your money, because then you can fucking use something like Venmo, or like even PayPal's. Yeah, PayPal. There are ways to send free. Yeah, if it's not for a good, like if it's just for a transferring to friends or family or something like that, they don't take a fee out for that.
And they don't take a fee out if somebody's sending you money either. Right. PayPal doesn't.
Yeah. So there are other ways, and then obviously if it's local, you give them cash. But I think a lot of this, and a lot of times the people that I think I like see regularly are not like local to me because they're online. Yeah. And obviously with that you want to be careful as well. It's the same evaluating. Like, is this person, did they join the group yesterday and they're asking for $6,000? Right. Like, no. You know what I mean?
Do they claim to be a Nigerian prince? Right. Anything along those lines?
Yeah, so there's some there, but I think also, I think I'm more likely with people asking for help. I think I'm more likely to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'd rather give a scammer $10 than never give somebody money ever again.
Fair.
Yes. Oh, that being said, fucking give homeless people money, because again, even if you get scammed a few times, it's fucking worth it for the people you help. Don't be a shithead. I don't care if you gave someone $5 and they get into a Mercedes. Right. I just don't care.
Or shit, for that matter, like, if you see somebody, like, we were at some restaurant, I don't remember, some restaurant with a drive-thru, and there was a guy, like, on the corner begging for money. We pulled through the drive-thru, we bought, like, a chicken dinner or something and gave it to him. Like, it's better, I think, give to people. That's what I think. Even if it's not money, even if you buy lunch, like the guy's sign said he was hungry, we bought him lunch.
Yeah, like, I think that's helpful.
Do something, even if you get scammed by one guy in a Mercedes.
Yeah. Just keep giving to people.
Direct action is always
direct action is always the best thing to do. Yeah. I'm not obviously, I donate to places, but just the one. But that's also part of it, is like that first step we talked about. Like what I value is like helping people. And so I can know for sure that I'm helping a person if I directly give them money. And so that is why I think direct action is the best.
Hell yeah.
Yep. So, are you ready to check if this is a credible organizational charity?
Yes. All right. Let's take a look.
Charity, do you want to do two? Just like
yeah. Okay. Let's go with two.
We'll go with the
hopefully they're both good.
The Bungie Foundation, the first
one. I need you to spell Bungie.
Bungie.
I know I'm spelling it wrong. Okay.
Now, is this like Bungie, the video game developer?
Yeah. Okay. So, the weird thing, so if you can explain it to a 5-year-old, you probably know more about it. Bungie is kind of like Extra Life in that they have their own, like Bungie is a video game developer that they make their own video games. They made Destiny, Halo, Oni, Marathon. I think I named all of them.
That sounds right.
So they made with their store, so they like make things. All of the proceeds from their store, like the profits, go to something they call the Bungie Foundation, which is getting video games in hospitals for kids while they're sick.
Okay, so I have the Bungie Foundation pulled up right now. So the first thing on their website was actually a video that popped up out of nowhere and scared me. But the second thing on their website is their mission, which is the Bungie Foundation aims to reduce distress and suffering in children through entertainment.
Hell yeah.
So that's simple. That's super concise. Yeah. You know what they're doing, right? Underneath that, they have their philosophy. The team at Bungie is grateful for the opportunity to do something we love for the enjoyment of our fans. Our successes have provided us with a unique opportunity to use our knowledge and resources to give back to our community and add values to areas where we can make a direct impact. So that's sort of a buzzword that you'd like to. And then they actually immediately link to other organizations that they love, they say, which I think is cute.
Yeah.
But so they've got Make-A-Wish, they've got Seattle Children's Hospital, Direct Relief, Child's Play, Boys and Girls Club.
Child's Play is actually the thing that is responsible for Extra Life, which is another kind of organization that does the thing.
And then so after that bit, then on their website they have how you can get involved. They have like links to their store, pictures of what they do.
I also think it's cool that they have the actual Seattle, Washington hospital on there, so you can know exactly where they're going. That if you're local to that area, you can see.
And then they have a separate link on the top for their a blog for the events that they do, which is super. That's good because they're exactly what they're doing. It's like super transparent so far. Their tax ID number is on the front page. It says the foundation is a registered 501c3, has their tax ID number.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then 2 places to contact them.
Heck yeah.
Right.
So that's
and
great.
It's just
so
that
I think
simple,
looking
folks.
at that, let me pull up.
So the next time somebody comes knocking at your door.
The other thing we said to do, Bungie Foundation, is
Google
Google them with
Google them.
with your
right
like
your
Scandal
big words
or
there. Also, I don't know if this is like something people didn't know, but I did have to teach somebody this at school last week. But if you put a word in quotation marks in a Google search, it will make it so that word is mandatory in bringing it up.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
But I'm also
That's important.
108 years old.
you can use quotes.
There's a lot of
plus and
there's a lot of like
little
key things that you can do for Google. I actually had to take a class on it in high school, so that is why I am an expert Googler. I'm not gonna lie to you. The first, I see what happened. The first thing that popped up on Google for me was Ted Cruz sex scandal.
Because it did, even though it didn't have the word, it had the word scandal and not.
Well, and it came from a website called Bungie.net. So it's Bungie Foundation quotation mark scandal.
I got you.
I don't want to read any more about that. And I don't want to think about Ted Cruz in a sexual capacity.
Is it from Bungie.net?
Yeah.
That's their actual website.
Yeah.
I want to know what that is. It like a blog post? I want to know why that's on Bungie.
It's actually the plot to their next game.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
I don't. It's from 2016.
Destiny 3, bro.
Right.
Yeah, it's from 2016. I don't know if
the
that
new
helps
DLC.
you. This is all bringing up stuff from Bungie.net.
Yeah, that's
which is a good thing. Well, I was going to say that's a good thing, though, because if you type in salvation, because I'm sorry, I did another Google search with discrimination instead of scandal. And if you do a Google search with Salvation Army and then the word discrimination in quotation marks, which was the original example I was going to use before you had this idea, you just get like 500 news articles about how they discriminate against disabled people and
before you
LGBTQ
even see anything
people.
from the Salvation Army themselves, right?
Yeah.
Like that one time they let somebody literally just stay out in the cold because they didn't agree with their persons.
Yeah. They just be like that sometimes.
Right.
Anyway, I don't know if I can stress this enough, but fuck the Salvation Army.
To the Salvation
That being said, don't be mean to the people who ring the bells. Don't be fucking mean to them.
No, God, no.
Most of those people are from like Salvation Army, like homeless shelters and halfway houses and stuff like that, and don't fucking be mean to them.
Yeah, because weirdly enough, so as I was in high school, we had the opportunity as musicians to play for them, like to play and like earn money. So that's a way that the Salvation Army is like, hey, get us some money, we'll give you some money, which is
questionable, but whatever. Anyway, moving on. This is not.
This is not Let's Bash Salvation Army.
That is my regular life. This is a different thing I'm doing. Okay, so Extra Life. Yeah, Extra Life is the next one we're doing. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, let's look at that.
Okay, so would that be extra-life.org? Does that
Probably,
sound right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't been on there in a while. Does it say like Child's Play and Children's
It does
Miracle
say
Network?
play games to help heal local kids. That's a good one too. Local, like that.
So I think Extra Life might be the event, and I think Child's Play is the organization.
Okay, that makes sense. Because here it says Extra Life unites thousands of players around the world in a 24-hour fundraising and gaming marathon to support Children's Miracle Network hospitals.
Yep.
Another good one to check out is 826.
826.
They do like after school program stuff in inner cities.
Oh.
I don't know if the mic picked you up or not there, Mike, but
The 826 National
yes,
supports a networks of 7 writing and tutoring centers.
See, that's cool too.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good. That looks like a good one. Let me pull this up.
Yeah,
this one's
a critical role, and they always advocate.
Oh,
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
Los Angeles-based one. I got you.
Yeah, this website is super. Like, if it's super easy, like, and transparent about what they're doing. So, like, right at the top of this one, they have all the chapters, how you can volunteer, their resources, how you can donate, what impact. Like, that's a whole tab up here. Is like the impact they've made.
Well, that's another thing
They have their annual report, their strategic plan, and then their theory of change, which would be like their long-term goals.
I don't know how big the organization is, like how far out.
So here's their. Well, let me tell you, because it's right here on their website. All right. Between 2017 and 2018, so that I'm assuming fiscal year. They've got just the raw data up here. So they have 826 chapters. That makes sense. 38,505 students are in those chapters. 31,095 students reached by 826 digital. So I think I'd have to look more into that.
Like being able to help.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I gotcha.
I was going to say
1,000. Go ahead.
Keep going. No.
1,194 teachers were helped in their pursuit of tutoring. There are over 4,000 active volunteers. 4,073.
So that's where volunteering. Another thing you can do, not only donating money, is you can donate time.
Yeah.
And volunteering and helping people like that. That was something you said. It was like volunteers. I was like, oh yeah, you can not only just donate.
Yeah.
Like
I think we focus real heavy on money, but obviously there are a lot of opportunities to donate your time as well.
Yeah, if you can't do money, time is always a good thing too.
Hell yeah.
And you can make connections with people and stuff.
Yeah, and they have actually like a lot of really good data and like statistics on here. Actually, that I'm not going to read all of it. That's
should we do a bad
outrageous,
one?
But
should we do a bad charity?
Do you want to?
I mean, I talked about Oxfam already.
We're doing one we know is a bad charity.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's unfair to do it that
I'm trying
way.
to think of like one that would be like
Totally.
That's exactly it. We've given you the tools. So if you're donating to somebody, like, look into them.
Yeah.
See if they're
follow
good or
our
not.
helpful steps.
And don't
This is
fucking
probably
donate
the most
to the Salvation Army.
Educational, wholesome episode
That
of
is
this
what I'm
show
here
we've ever
for.
fucking done.
I only want to educate and make fun of rich people.
Eat the rich.
That's all I want to do.
So recapping, if you want to find out if a charity is good, first look inside yourself.
Look inside yourself.
Yes.
What do you want to donate
Ask
to?
yourself questions. Then ask Google questions.
And then ask Google questions. And then when you get to that Google, make sure that they are transparent, clear, concise.
Nonprofit certified.
Was there anything else I missed?
I mean, I think that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and trust your instincts.
Right.
That's a big one.
If it seems sketchy, don't do it, even if it turns out that it was a great charity. Just don't fucking do
You
it.
just help somebody else.
Yeah. You can just keep looking. And you don't have to always donate money. That's the other thing.
Time is very valuable.
Hey, well, thank you guys for being on the show today. Wow, you knocked that right off of there.
Was it?
Listen, it's
That cup
empty.
was empty. Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Hey, well, thanks again, guys, for being on the show.
Literally anytime.
And listeners, you can always check us out on the internet. We are on Twitter and Instagram at AntiFictionCast. You can also email us at antifictioncast@gmail.com if you've got questions, comments, concerns. If you were scammed by a charity, if you know any good charities, tweet at us, email us.
You can
If you
still
need
find
$10 for groceries, I run the Twitter account, so you can find me there.
If you still want to find me, I'm on YouTube and Snapchat. I'm not on Twitter anymore because Nazis live there.
Right. Peculiar Patrick.
Yep.
Any social media platform, just search for that, and then you'll probably find Patrick.
Fet Life.
That one I think is Peculiar
MySpace.
Oddities as opposed to that. And MySpace, I think,
LinkedIn.
is gone. I don't know if I have a LinkedIn. It might be old.
Foursquare.
I actually used. Foursquare's not called Foursquare anymore. I think.
3 Square.
No.
Stop.
It's like
All right, goodbye.
Anyway, yeah, check us out next week. We'll see you then.